Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something huge, really one of life's biggest financial steps, buying your very first home.
Yeah.
It just feels incredibly complex, maybe even overwhelming, especially right now with, costs going up and everything feeling a bit volatile.
It really is. And you hear the standard advice, right? Save money, get pre-approved.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's often just too vague. It doesn't really help you navigate the specifics.
Right.
So we've dug into this really detailed list, the top 10 challenges for first-time homebuyers.
Yeah.
And this isn't just like a list of complaints.
Right.
It's more like a forensic look at the actual roadblocks people hit.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty straightforward then. We want to move past the sort of general anxiety around this and get tactical. We're going to break down these 10 hurdles, distill them into actual actionable strategies. The goal is for you, listening, to come away knowing where the traps are hidden and, crucially, how to actually step around them.
Exactly. And we've tried to group these challenges thematically. So we'll start with, well, the big one.
Yeah.
The initial financial barriers,
Yeah.
getting your foot in the door, so to speak.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting right where I think most first-time buyer dreams hit a wall. Saving enough cash for that initial deposit, the down payment.
Yeah.
This seems to be the core struggle, doesn't it? The one we hear about constantly. Our sources definitely back this up, that huge task of just socking away the, traditional 10, maybe 20%.
Yeah, the 20% looms large.
Especially when property prices keep climbing and just, living costs what they are, it feels almost impossible for a lot of people starting out.
It absolutely can feel insurmountable. But, the sources we looked at are quick to point out that the 20% figure, it isn't necessarily this fixed, immovable thing anymore.
Ah, okay.
So the immediate tactical tip is stop fixating only on hitting 20%.
Yeah.
Instead, really start exploring those lower down payment options, maybe 5%, maybe 10%.
Yeah.
And crucially, aggressively research things like government-backed loan programs or even developer assistance schemes. These are specifically designed to lower that upfront cash hurdle.
But hang on, doesn't avoiding that 20% just swap one problem for another? Like, if you put less down, don't you usually get hit with private mortgage insurance, PMI, which is just another monthly expense chipping away at your budget?
That's a really fair point, and yeah, it's a calculation every single buyer needs to make. PMI is an extra cost, definitely. But one way to think about it is as a fee you pay for getting into the market sooner.
Okay.
Think about it. If you wait, say, another 3 years trying to save up that full 20%, how much might the property you want have gone up in value in that time? It could easily be more than what you'd pay in PMI over those same 3 years.
Oh, I see.
So the goal is to weigh the cost of PMI today against the potential cost of waiting until tomorrow.
That definitely reframes the challenge. Okay, so let's say you've figured out the down payment strategy. The next massive hurdle, number 2 on the list, is actually getting the bank on board, securing the mortgage itself.
Right.
Banks want to see, a strong financial track record, consistent income, good credit. Things a first-time buyer, maybe younger, just hasn't had as much time to build up solidly.
And this is exactly where preparation makes all the difference. It separates the kind of serious buyer from the window shopper.
Mm-hmm.
The actionable steps here are super specific. Start right now improving your credit score, like actively work on it, and clear out existing high-interest debts, credit cards, personal loans. But honestly, the single most powerful thing you can do,
What's that?
get pre-approved for a mortgage before you even start looking at houses.
Why is pre-approval such a game changer, though? What does it actually do for you?
Well, it fundamentally shifts the power dynamic. See, a pre-approval isn't just a casual estimate. It means a lender has actually gone through your finances, verified your income, checked your credit, and they're committing, tentatively, to lending you a specific amount.
Okay.
So when you walk into an open house or make an offer, especially in a competitive market, sellers see that pre-approval letter, and they take your offer much more seriously.
Yeah.
You go from being just another hopeful looky-loo to someone who actually has the backing on paper.
Right.
That speed and certainty. That can literally be the thing that wins you the house over someone else with a similar offer but no pre-approval.
Okay, that's clear. So we've got the down payment strategy, financing potentially lined up, but then there's this huge external factor we can't control, rising property prices. Challenge number 3.
The elephant in the room.
Yeah, driven by inflation, huge demand, and just, not enough houses being built, especially near major job centers. You can't control the whole market. So how do you even begin to tackle this one?
Well, you're right. You can't single-handedly fix the supply crisis. So the tips here focus on sort of redefining what you're willing or able to buy. Strategic alternatives are key.
Like what?
Like, stop looking only in the trendiest, most established neighborhoods. Start seriously considering emerging areas. Those spots maybe just outside the main core, but where there's new infrastructure planned or signs of growth.
But isn't looking at emerging neighborhoods a bit risky? Isn't that just code for maybe buying in an area that might not actually take off? How does a first-time buyer tell the difference between emerging and just permanently stagnant?
That's a really vital question. And you assess it by looking for external validation for drivers of growth. Is a new train line or transit hub planned nearby?
Okay.
Is a big company moving its headquarters there?
Yeah.
Are the local authorities investing in things like parks, schools, community centers? You're looking for concrete indicators of future value, not just hoping for the best based on current affordability.
Right. Look for the underlying investment.
Exactly. And the other classic strategy is the fixer-upper. Buying a place that needs work. It lets you potentially get into a better location, but at a lower initial price point. Then you build equity over time as you make improvements.
Got it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the big upfront numbers, down payment, loan amount, but now let's talk about the true cost of owning a home. Because that sticker price, it's often just the starting line.
Yeah, this brings us neatly to challenge 4, those hidden or unexpected costs.
It's so easy to focus just on the mortgage payment, right?
Okay.
And completely forget about all the other expenses that suddenly pop up right around closing and immediately after.
Oh, yeah.
Things like legal fees, property taxes that might be due, transfer fees, insurance, and then, of course, basic maintenance, maybe needing some furniture.
Yeah.
It adds up fast.
This is exactly where people who thought they budgeted perfectly can really run into trouble. They end up draining their emergency fund just to cover closing costs and get the keys.
So what's the advice?
The source material gives a really critical practical number here, something everyone should probably jot down. You must budget an additional 5 to 10% above the agreed property price.
Wow, 5 to 10% on top of the price.
Yes, just for closing costs and those immediate post-purchase expenses.
Yes.
It's a buffer.
So on a, let's say, $400,000 house, that could be up to $40,000 just in buffer money, completely separate from your down payment.
Exactly. It sounds like a massive figure, I know, but it's what prevents you from becoming instantly house poor the day you move in.
Okay, that's a stark warning. And it leads directly into a related danger, which is actually number 6 on the list. We're skipping 5 for a moment. For flow, overestimating what they can afford.
Very common.
The temptation is huge, right? The bank pre-approves you for a certain amount and you think, great, I can afford a house up to this price. But choosing a home right at the top of your approved limit can stretch your finances dangerously thin.
It really can. You end up in a situation where one unexpected major repair, like you mentioned, a furnace breaks, the roof starts leaking, suddenly throws your entire budget into crisis mode. Potential default risk, even.
So is there a concrete rule or guideline to help people avoid that stress and that risk?
Yes, thankfully there is. A specific, well-tested guideline. The 30-40 rule.
Okay, 30-40. What's that?
It's not arbitrary. It's a financial health benchmark. The rule states, aim to spend no more than 30% of your gross monthly income on your total housing costs. That's mortgage principal, interest, taxes, insurance, PITI.
30% max on housing. Got it. What's the 40?
And keep your total monthly debt payment, so that's your housing costs, plus car payments, student loans, credit card minimums, everything below 40% of your gross monthly income.
Huh?
Following this rule helps ensure you have breathing room. It accounts for things like utility costs fluctuating or needing to save for repairs. It gives you that crucial buffer so you're not just living paycheck to paycheck solely to keep the house.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is, well, maybe fascinating isn't quite the right word, but it's striking how the next cluster of challenges we identified, they're less about not having enough money and more about a lack of preparation, knowledge, and sometimes not getting the right professional help.
Interesting.
It really highlights the importance of knowing when to call in the experts.
Okay, so let's tackle challenge 5 then, the one we skipped. Lack of market knowledge. First-time buyers are often, understandably, kind of flying blind here.
Yeah.
They might not fully grasp concepts like how properties are actually valued, what current market trends mean, or even the specific real estate laws in their area. They're basically stepping into a really complex game without knowing all the rules.
And the tip here, honestly, it requires a bit of commitment, but it's invaluable.
Yeah.
You have to do thorough research. It's mandatory homework.
Like, what kind of research?
You need to be following local property reports, keeping an eye on interest rate movements, and crucially, Learning how to understand comparable salespeople, often call them comps.
Comps. Right. What do those tell you?
Comps show you what similar houses nearby have actually sold for recently, not just the asking price, which can sometimes be, aspirational.
Right.
Knowing the actual sold prices gives you a much more realistic benchmark for value.
And that need for expertise becomes even more critical when you hit Challenge 7. The complex legal and documentation process. The sheer volume of paperwork is intimidating.
Oh, absolutely.
Contracts, title deeds, permits. It's often dense, written in legalese, maybe confusing or even incomplete. And there are real legal risks if you sign something you don't fully understand.
The solution here is really simple and very firm. Do not try to DIY the legal side of buying a house. It's just not worth the risk.
So hire a professional.
Yes. The necessary expense here is hiring a qualified real estate lawyer, or potentially a very thorough agent who specializes in this. Their specific job is to verify ownership, make sure you're getting what's called a clean title, and handle all that complex documentation correctly.
Okay, I know hiring a lawyer sounds like just another fee adding to that 5–10% buffer we talked about. But can we quickly define what a clean title actually is and why having a lawyer check it prevents a potential catastrophe?
Good question. So, a clean title basically means there are no hidden surprises attached to the property's ownership history. No outstanding legal claims against it, no unpaid liens from contractors, no undisclosed easements or boundary disputes, nothing that could cloud your ownership.
And if the title isn't clean?
If you accidentally buy a house with a dirty title, say, a previous owner has a massive unpaid tax bill attached to the property, or there's an unresolved claim from an heir, that problem can suddenly become your problem, your financial liability, after you buy it. A lawyer's job is to do the deep dive, the title search, to uncover and resolve those issues before you sign on the dotted line. Their fee is essentially insurance against inheriting someone else's potentially massive financial mess, or even losing the house later.
Okay, when you put it like that, that expense sounds absolutely essential, worth every penny.
It really is.
Now, let's move to something maybe a bit more human. Challenge 8. Emotional decision-making. This has got to be the oldest trap in the book, right?
Definitely.
You walk into a house, you fall in love with the kitchen or the backyard or the view, and suddenly that sensible 30-40 rule you swore you'd stick to just flies out the window.
It happens all the time. But objectivity has to win out. The clear advice here is to consciously enforce logic over emotion.
Easier said than done, maybe.
Perhaps, but it's crucial. Base your decisions on the cold, hard numbers, the affordability, the inspection report, the resale potential, your long-term financial goals, not just on the warm, fuzzy feeling those shiny new appliances give you.
So how do you force that logic?
A really powerful tactic is to force yourself to always compare at least 2, preferably 3, serious options before you even think about making an offer.
Comparison shopping.
Exactly. It forces you to weigh the pros and cons. Analytically, this one has a better location but needs work. That one is move-in ready but smaller, rather than just acting impulsively on the first one that gives you butterflies. Okay, so if we connect this all to the bigger picture now, the final set of challenges really focus on the long-term view. Think beyond just getting the keys. This is where the true lasting value of your investment is often decided.
Right. Which brings us to challenge 9, choosing the right location. And this feels like another potentially paralyzing decision. How do you possibly balance affordability, safety, your commute time, neighborhood amenities, schools, all at once? It's overwhelming.
It is a complex equation. And the key to managing that complexity is to prioritize.
Oh.
You have to figure out what are your absolute essentials versus your nice-to-haves. For maximizing both your quality of life and your potential long-term financial return, the sources consistently say to prioritize things like proximity to work or good schools, if that's relevant for you. Reliable transport links are huge. And this is really crucial for the investment side. Actively research the future development plans for that area. Is new infrastructure coming? New businesses? That's a strong signal of potential future appreciation and neighborhood growth. More important, maybe, than how trendy it is today.
That makes sense, looking ahead. And that kind of strategic thinking flows right into the final challenge, number 10. The simple, paralyzing fear of making a bad investment.
Yeah, the analysis paralysis.
Exactly. First-time buyers especially can just freeze up. They're terrified they'll overpay or buy the wrong type of property or choose something that just won't increase in value like they hope.
And you combat that fear not with wishful thinking, but with facts and data. Due diligence. The mitigation steps are clear. First, Get a thorough professional home inspection. That is absolutely non-negotiable. It uncovers hidden problems, structural issues, plumbing nightmares, electrical faults before they become your expensive headache.
Right.
Second, you diligently review those comparable sales, the comps we talked about, to make sure the price you're considering is actually justified by the market.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, if you're thinking about it partly as an investment, maybe calculate some key metrics. Things like projected rental yield, if you ever plan to rent it out, or the historical price appreciation trends in that specific neighborhood. Doing that homework transforms what feels like a massive leap of faith into a much more calculated, informed risk.
So what does this all mean when you look at all 10 of these challenges together? What's the big takeaway? For me, it seems like the common thread is that preparation, doing your homework, knowing the steps is really the ultimate antidote. It counters both the financial risks and that paralyzing fear.
I think that's exactly right.
It turns this terrifying list of barriers into more of a checklist, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The entire process, when you boil it down, it really demands two key things from a buyer. First, ruthless financial discipline. That means actually saving that initial money, whether it's 5% or 20%, and then strictly adhering to something like that 30-40 rule for affordability.
Okay, discipline on the money side.
And second, equally important, is disciplined reliance on professional guidance.
Yeah.
You simply cannot afford to try and wing this process yourself, especially the legal and inspection aspects. You must bring in qualified lawyers, experienced agents, certified inspectors, and bring them in early.
That's a really powerful summary. Financial discipline plus professional help. And that leaves us with, I think, a really provocative final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We've seen that lacking market knowledge and getting tripped up by complex legal processes are major documented risks that lead to incredibly costly mistakes down the line. So the question to consider is this. How much actual financial value in terms of avoiding future legal battles or bad investment outcomes does the upfront cost of hiring truly qualified, experienced professionals actually save you in the long run? Think about the peace of mind and the potential pitfalls avoided that initial investment and expertise provides as you start your own home buying journey.